So we'll continue. We will start yesterday. So we can just open the Visual Studio and we will create our own template. Yes, file, new, create a new project. So select the resource group. Now just get what are the template you want. So as of now I am going to create Windows virtual machine. This is my Windows virtual machine. Wherever you can select. So these are all the Visual Studio templates by default available. If you want to get GitHub templates, so you can start with the GitHub templates. Quick start GitHub templates. These are all the GitHub templates. Thousands of the templates is available. Just you can search what are the template you want. Just you can search here and you can get it from there. You can search for the template whichever you want. So based on the Windows related templates available. So else you can, so as of now I am using the GitHub template. I am using the Visual Studio template. Just select the Windows machine. Yes, okay. Now it will generate the script. So what is the default script? What is the default elements in the script? ARM template script. Implementation syntax. Schema. Okay. This is the script which is generated. Now, schema, version, parameters, and variables, resources, and output. That is the default elements in the template. Now, it is defaultly have treated as an object. Just get the parenthesis, open the parenthesis, and create the schema and content version, and this is the parameters. What are the parameters you would like to create for this creation of the Windows virtual machine? So by default, I do need to get administrator name. Why? Because you customer does not give you the username and password to you to create the virtual machine. You have to give that option to the customer by providing the parameters. So type, whether it's a type, what kind of a data types allowed by JSON? Boolean, integer, string. Okay. So string, what is the length of your username? Metadata. So metadata is nothing but it will give the description about the, please enter the username, whatever it may be. So username for the virtual machine. You can write any your user defined comment. That is nothing but a metadata. Next one is password. So username is the one block. One block is nothing but one object. So again you are creating the another object. What is the another object is password. The password is nothing but, again open the parenthesis. What is the type? Secure string. What is the difference between string and secure string? Secure string is nothing but it will give the stars. You cannot see it. Whenever you enter the password, it will give the dots or stars. So you can securely provide your passwords. Just string is nothing but you can see the values. What are the string you are entering, that you can see it. Okay, metadata again. Please enter the password for the virtual machine. Okay, DNS public IP. Actually, I don't want this. Okay, but still, what is the minimum length? What is the string type? Windows operating system version. Whether you want to see. So now you want to list the LOV, list of values, which allow you to select Windows 2012, 2016, 2018, sorry 2019, Windows SQL Server 2012, 14, 16, Ubuntu VM, CentOS. Like that, if you would like to give the list of values to give options to the end user. So for that, type equal to string, default value is Windows 12. That is by default associated. You don't need to select, the default value will be by default available there. Now we want to get the drop down list of this, all the images. Allowed values. Allowed values are 2008, 2012, whatever it may be. What are all those images available, you can list it down. What are the values you list down here? Those values only appear while deploying your machine. Getting it or not? Next. Next is variables. What are the variables? Variables ante enti? It stores the values. So what type of values we do store here? What type of values we need to store here while generating the template? So I would like to generate only Windows Server, image offer, Windows Server, OS disk, NIC. So you are giving the values while running your template without giving the name of string values, you can enter it. What is the address prefix of your virtual network? While you configure your virtual network, what is the address type? So once you pass these values, directly you can pass these values while you creating your resources. అర్థమవుతుంది కదా. సో మీరు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు ఇప్పుడు, this 10.0.0/16 IP address ni you are storing here in the address prefix. Whenever you are creating the virtual network, you can call this address prefix there only without adding IP address manually to avoid the mistakes. Okay, subnet prefix. What is the subnet name? ఇలా మీరు ఏం చేయొచ్చు అంటే, you can add all the values into the variables. Whenever it is required, you can call from the variable. So here we are adding the virtual machine name, virtual machine size, what is the network name, all the default values you can pass into the variables. అర్థమవుతుందా? What is the difference? You can guarantee what is the difference between parameters and the variables. Parameters are used to give the end users to allow the values to enter the values. But where are the variables used to store the values for the runtime execution? Now, what is the next after variables? Resources. Resources are used to create the Azure services. What is the type? What is the resource types available? What is the default what I can say elements for the resources? Student open student chadavali. Type, name, location, API version, tags, depends on properties. Those are all the elements which you should call in the resources. That is a mandatory. Then first one is type. What is the type? What you are trying to create? What type of resource you are trying to create using these resources? Microsoft storage. You are creating the storage account. I am going to create the Azure Microsoft Azure storage. What is the name of your storage? Now what you are doing? ఇప్పుడు చూడండి ఏం చేస్తాను నేను. You are calling the name of your storage account from the variables. In the variable you have already defined that name. So it default select అయింది. VHD storage account name. Storage account name. You are calling the storage account name in ఎక్కడి నుంచి కాల్ చేస్తున్నావు? From variables. This is the name of your storage account. You are calling the name from the variables. How do you have to define that? Variables. Variables, then storage account. ఇంకా బాగా రావాలి. I am calling from the variables. Okay, what is the next? API version. We need to define the what is the version of your API. Yesterday you have seen the query. Once you run the query, it will give the latest API version. Just you can call that API version here in the template. Then location. So I have already defined my location in the variable. Just you can call that variable. I have to define that the resource group and the location. Where you have defined it. Else you can manually define that in the resource group as well. So okay, tag. What is the tag name? It is a storage account. Even though if it does not a problem, if we eliminate the tag. What is the properties? What is the account type? Whether you would like to create storage VHD type or table type, whatever it may be. The properties of that particular resource. This is the one block that is done. You have created one object. Now I would like to create another object as creating the public IP. So define the another object. This is the another object. Like whatever the services you would like to create, you can call each object in the resource element. So public IP. What is the name of your public IP? Display name, properties, variables. Okay. What is the domain name? If you would like to associate your public IP with the domain. The next one is virtual network. See, virtual network claim. What type of object it is? In virtual network, what type of object you are creating? Nested object. Object in the object. So you are creating VNet, that is one object. Inside the object, you are creating the subnet, that is another object. It is a nested object. So now what you understand, resources can allow individual objects and nested object and arrays as well. Getting it or not? So it could be allow arrays as well. So the resource element allows you to create all type of object, arrays and nested objects as well. Virtual network. What is the name of your network? Your location calling from the from the resource group variable. Tag, properties. What is the address space? We have already defined this address prefix. If you look at that, just go back. Address prefix. We have already defined the address prefix in the variable. Just you are calling that. That's it. Likewise, you can create all the resources. You would like to create network interface as well. NIC also. See, what is this? Hmm? No, no, no. ఇక్కడ మీరు అదర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ కి డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ చూడలేదు. వై యూఆర్ క్రియేటింగ్ ద డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ఫర్ నిక్కా లాజిక్ ఆలోచించండి. Exactly. So you are calling that IP addresses and associated with particular NIC card. NIC it holds the public and private IPs, right? So you have already created the public IP in the previous object. You are calling that object and associated with this object. That is called a NIC. That is the reason we do use a depends on the execution. Mean while executing, if you would like to associate any existing resource with while creating the object, we do use the depends on. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, మీరు పబ్లిక్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ చేస్తున్నారు, ప్రైవేట్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ చేస్తున్నారు యూజింగ్ ద విర్చువల్ నెట్వర్క్. వాట్ ఇస్ ద డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్? ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ 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 ఇంపార్టెంట్. So if you don't have depends on, you could not associate it with the existing service with a particular service. I mean to say object. Okay, you must use the depends on. What is the resource ID? Public IP address. You are calling the public IP address where you have created, and you are creating the calling the virtual network which you already created. Okay. Now, what is the next thing? Virtual machine. See, nested object again. Depends on. Virtual machine depends on your storage account, and virtual machine is depends on your network needs. You are all the public IP and private IP associated with your NIC. You are associating the NIC with your virtual machine. So this is how you need to think logically. Ante ఏ రిసోర్స్ ప్రీ రిక్విజైట్స్ ఉన్నాయో అవన్నీ ఫస్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకొని, జస్ట్ లైక్ కామన్ మీరు పోర్టల్ నుంచి ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేస్తారో ద సేమ్ థింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఇట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద స్క్రిప్ట్ యాజ్ వెల్. బట్ ద స్క్రిప్ట్ షుడ్ బి యాజ్ ఫాలోస్ ద హైరారికల్ వే. నువ్వు VM ఫస్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి దెన్ తర్వాత ఐ వుడ్ లైక్ టు క్రియేట్ VNet అంటే ఇట్ డస్ నాట్ వర్క్ ఫర్ యూ. హ్యావ్ టు కమ్ ఇన్ ఏ హైరారికల్ వే. సో ఫస్ట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు క్రియేట్ ద ప్రీ రిక్విజైట్స్. వన్స్ యూ డన్ విత్ ద ప్రీ రిక్విజైట్స్ యూ క్యాన్ అసోసియేట్ విత్ ద respective objects. So these are all the resources. These are all related to the virtual machine only. Then what is the last element? Disk writes, disk reads. What is the thing? Everything is given. What is the last one? So he is creating the monitoring as well. That could be the reason you have seen all the sub objects. Last one is output. Mention the output here. So any change output is not a mandatory. That could be the reason we did not see here. Now this is the template. Now if you want to deploy this template, మీరు ఇక్కడ template generate చేస్తారు. Now you would like to create this template. I mean to say you want to run this template.
It depends on the అదే యూస్ చేయాలి. Depends on
మీరు ఏ దానికైతే అటాచ్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నారో you have to give that particular resource ID. Just right click. So మనకు two template generate అయ్యాయి చూడండి. One template is for main template which you do create for all the resources. Another template is for parameters, separate template. Now what you can do, just right click and deploy. Where you want to deploy? What is your account? దీనికి బిల్డ్ అవసరం లేదు. రైట్ ద కోడ్ ఇన్ ఎనీ కంపైలేషన్ బిల్డ్ వాడతాం. ఇప్పుడు మనకు అవసరం లేదు. సో వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ అకౌంట్? యాడ్ అన్ అకౌంట్. మీరు యాక్టివ్లో ఉన్న సబ్స్క్రిప్షన్ చెప్పండి. SCM
Satish @ 5122.
SAT double E right?
SAT @ 5122.
44. So now, as soon as you log in, it will select the subscription under which subscription you want to create. See resource group. So బాగా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, ఇక్కడ మనం రిసోర్స్ గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేయలేదు. సో బేసికల్లీ ఆర్మ్ టెంప్లెట్స్ వర్క్స్ విత్ ఇన్ ద రిసోర్స్ గ్రూప్. ఆర్మ్ టెంప్లెట్ ఆల్వేస్ వర్క్స్ the services within the resource group. So that could be the reason we have to define the resource group, which resource group we would like to select. So select RG. What is the deployment template name? This is the JSON template. So by defaultly you have to give the extension .json. .json is the extension. You are calling the parameter template as well. Both parameter template is different, main template is the difference. While deploying, we are calling the both of them. Now if you say okay, it will go and create the resources in your subscription under the resource group. Now let's see another option. This is the one of the option. This is one of the option.
టెంప్లెట్ స్టోర్ అవ్వదు, మళ్ళీ కావాలంటే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసుకోవడానికి.
ఇక్కడ అది స్టోర్ అవుతుంది. You can store it. So Visual Store is linked to your local machine, right? You can store in your local machine.
Here also it will store.
Yeah.
మనం ఇక్కడ నుంచి మళ్ళీ నేను వేరే ల్యాప్టాప్ వాడినా అనుకోండి, అక్కడ నుంచి డౌన్లోడ్
చేసుకోవచ్చు. సో మీరు అప్పుడు డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోవాలంటే అగైన్ మీరు సెంట్రల్ రిపాజిటరీలో పెట్టాలి. Central repository పెట్టాలి. So once you create the template from your machine, that only strictly available in your machine. If that should be available globally to your all the teammates, you have to put in the central repository. దానికి మనం Git వాడతాం. అది నెక్స్ట్ క్లాసెస్ వస్తాయి. Git అది గిట్ హబ్, అది గిట్ హబ్ చాలా మనకు అన్నీ వస్తాయి వన్ బై వన్. SVN is the central local, it is a distributed. వస్తాయి అన్నీ చెప్తాను వన్ బై వన్. ఇప్పుడు అందరూ వాడతారు, ఇప్పుడు కూడా SVN వాడతారు. బట్ ఏంటంటే గిట్ హ్యాస్ ద మోర్ ఫీచర్స్ కంపేర్ టు ద SVN. అందరూ గిట్ వాడతారు. గిట్ ఈస్ ద డిస్ట్రిబ్యూటెడ్ వర్షన్ కంట్రోల్. Okay, so now if you want to deploy your template, what you have to do, just go to another way. I'm showing all services, templates. You see the templates, you can give the template, just add template. What is your template name? Let's see. So what is the template script? So by default language in చూడండి. So delete it and paste your script which you have generated. Just say put చూడండి, just say add. Now your template has been added to your created template has been added to the template cell. Now is save enter. It is available always. Whenever you want to deploy, just you can deploy. Just go and click here. You can see the deploy. Now see, ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఈ పారామీటర్స్ ఏమేం కాల్ చేశారు ఇక్కడ? యూజర్ నేమ్, DNS name, Windows version, అంతే right? This is the 4. If you go and look here, you could see that 4 templates, 4 parameters. Exactly. ఇప్పుడు మనం VM క్రియేట్ చేయడానికి ఎలా వస్తుంది? ఇప్పుడు సేమ్ అదే టెంప్లెట్. I mean to say, in the backend also, while you create your virtual machine from the portal itself, in the backend it will call the respective template. Okay. Username, password, DNS, Windows version. That's it. So for the Windows version, we have given the multi-value. What is that multi-value? To drop down the list. See, మీరు అక్కడ ఏమేమి ఇచ్చారో just to give all the values. So based on your input, it will create the virtual machine. This is the second way to create. Another way. There is one more way to create the template. So what I do? కోడ్ తప్పు ఉందంటే చెప్తాను. ఫస్ట్ డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ చూసి దాని తర్వాత there are multiple ways to do that. Let me create another template. Enti template name VM creation. Okay. Now this is the one. Let's save. I want to rename. What is the extension? .json. That is the template. Now let's cut it and put any one of the folder. Okay. Now you open the PowerShell. Yes. Connect iPhone. So every time when I open my ISC, I am trying to connect my Azure account. I don't want to do it every time. So as soon as I open the ISC, it should be connected to my account. Try it. That is your requirement. Okay. I don't want to do it every time. As soon as I I right click and run as administrator, that should be connected to my account. మీరు ఎలా చేస్తారో చేయండి. They may chance ask me to interview this kind of. What is the another way to connect to automate the login? To automate the login of your PowerShell for your Azure subscription.
This 5144.
Okay. Now I want to deploy my template through the PowerShell. The command. What is the command? Is new Azure RM resource group deployment. Resource group deployment. what is the resource group name where you want to deploy? What is the name of your template? VM creation. That is my name of the template. What is the resource group? What is the mode? Whether it is a complete or incremental. What is this? What is this? What is this mode tell you? Complete or incremental?
Complete means complete, incremental means what are the changes can be happening.
Exactly. If there is any new service with already some services available, if you are creating a new service, just if it is a incremental means, if you select the incremental, it will only create the new service. Rest of the service will be available. If you say complete, what it does, it will completely erase your resource group and it will recreate. నేను చెప్పాను కదా మా ఆఫీస్లో రిసోర్స్ గ్రూప్ కంప్లీట్ డిలీట్ అయిన ప్రొడక్షన్ ఈజ్ ఇస్ ద ప్రాబ్లం. Instead of they select incremental, unfortunately it selected complete. So it will completely wipe out your resource group. Then it will create the resources. That was the problem. So what I do, incremental. Now, what is the template file? Where is the file? Now if I run, what should be happen? ఇప్పుడు నేను రన్ చేస్తే ఏమేమి అవ్వాలి? First it will execute the parameters. What are the parameter types? Username, password. So why? Because here we have already passed the resource group. What is that? You could see the parameters. So as soon as you create your template, you would like to understand that whether my template is right or wrong. How do you identify that your template is syntax is properly written? If you manually written your template, you have written template manually, but you did not know that whether your template is created properly or having any errors. How do you identify that? For that, Control C. Asking the password, going to the next. Okay, I'll ask one command. This is the single command. కనపడుతుంది అందరికి? ఎక్కడ? ఇవ్వచ్చు, బట్ నేను అడిగిన క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే ఆటోమేటిక్ గా నేను యాజ్ సూన్ యాజ్ ఐ రైట్ క్లిక్ అండ్ రన్ యాజ్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్ అనగానే దట్ షుడ్ బి కమ్యూనికేటెడ్ టు మై. I don't want to run that command also. ఇక్కడ రాస్తే అక్కడ అంతా ఒకటే. So but I don't want to do it. Mode is mandatory. So, but we have that one. So, if you would like to create entire resource group, then you can go with the complete, or else you can use the incremental. Incremental is nothing but it's create only new resources in the particular resource group which you selected. Clear? So now I would like to test my template whether it is right or wrong. So what I do, just I'll open this template. Okay, I've done some changes. Now I want to test it whether my template is valid or not. How do you test it? Same command. Okay. The same command is new, right? Test hyphen Azure RM. This was good deploy. It won't deploy. It will check the syntax. Test Azure and resource group deployment and a command మీరు వాడితే it doesn't go and deploy in your resource group. It will check whether your template is valid or not to deploy that in your environment. Same syntax again. Resource group. Now let me run it. More incremental. We have syntax errors. Changes. Which is how, see, ఏం చెప్తుంది లైన్ 14 పొజిషన్ 8 లో సింటాక్స్ ఎర్రర్ ఉంది, చెక్ చేసుకుంటుంది. వాట్ ఇస్ దట్? లైన్ 14 saved it. This is how. ఇప్పుడు మీరు యూజర్ నేమ్ అడ్మిన్ పాస్వర్డ్ ఇచ్చిన it doesn't go and deploy it. Why? Because you are testing it whether it is properly attended. Okay, I will do a thing.
Passing code.
What is the password? That's it. Oh, invalid template deployment. Message the template deployment file with error. The resource side is subscription. The resource side is size of a particular మనం ఏదైతే సైజ్ ఇచ్చామో ఆ సైజ్ ఆ లొకేషన్ లో లేదు. ఇది కూడా వన్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇష్యూస్. సో ఇప్పుడు మీరు డిప్లాయ్ చేస్తే డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ లెవెల్లో ఏమైనా ఎర్రర్స్ ఉన్నా కూడా చెప్తుంది. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం సింటాక్స్. ఇప్పుడు ఇది ఏం చెప్తుంది? The size which you have selected that is not available under the selected location. Getting it or not? So now we'll do one thing for your understanding. Now మనం template create చేసాం కదా. So now I want to edit. I don't want to use my DNS. I don't want to use the ఇది అవసరమే లేదు. Okay. Now save it. And deploy it. See, resource group. What is the admin test? This and password. Okay. What is the virtual machine you want to get to control data center? Just say. So by default, the template over you could see this message. I agree the terms and conditions. Just
Create it.
We have already the issue here, right? The request size in the resource is not available under the particular level. Not under location, the subscription is not allowed. Already, course select that could be the reason it is not allowed. If you change the size of the virtual machine, it will go and deploy. So, this is how you can use the ARM template. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఏం చేయొచ్చు, the generated template just you can give it to your customer. So while he runs that, you will give all the input values. Okay, that can be done. Now, any questions so far? So, me practice kosam, what you have to do? Okay. Perform all these tasks. ఇవన్నీ చేయండి. So first ఏం చేస్తారు, try to deploy directly from the Swift template. Swift templates అంటే ఏంటి, from the GitHub. GitHub లో templates ఉంటాయి కదా, try to directly deploy first of all without writing. Then next generate ARM template based on the existing resource group. అంటే first method. Second one, deploy template using the PowerShell that removes all resources in the resource group. ఏం వాడతారు అప్పుడు, mode is complete. Mode is, we have to select the mode is complete. Next, you can deploy template via the portal. Deploy ARM templates using the CLI 2.0. CLI mean to say there is another fourth method. Enter command line నుంచి. Command line అంటే ఏంటి, నీ క్లౌడ్ షెల్ ఇది. ఇక్కడ నుంచి రన్ చేయండి. That is the fourth type of method. So in interviews, they would ask you that how do you deploy your template? Explain all these four types. Next one, create and deploy ARM template using the Visual Studio. Okay, so మీకు Visual Studio problem గా ఉంది అన్నప్పుడు then you can use the Visual Studio Code. Use Visual Studio Code.
అంటే slow.
I mean, say, minimum it is 16 GB RAM ఉంటేనే వర్కౌట్ అవుతుంది, లేకపోతే అవ్వదు. So this is the automate అంతే చెప్తా. I'll do it. I'll tell you. So this is the landing page of your Visual Studio. So Visual Studio Code works based on your extensions. Always extensions. మీరు ఏం చేస్తారంటే Shift Alt X. So Control Shift X. Control Shift X. Control Shift X. అప్పుడు it will give that. మీరు ఏం చేయాలి? You have to download the extension that Resource Manager template. ఇది మీరు డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోవాలి. నేను ఆల్రెడీ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశాను కాబట్టి I could see here. దీని మీద వచ్చేయండి. It will be very interesting. Okay, so once you downloaded it, now what you have to do, just go to the new, just create the new file. You can create the path, you can create the folder. What is the folder? JSON scripting. Under the JSON scripting, I would like to create new file. What is the file name? VM creation. Remember that is storing in your local machine. This is storing in your local machine. Now write the script or JSON script. So default to the other syntax is equal to. What is that?
Open source.
This open source is free. Adhika. Just try to create. మీ స్క్రిప్ట్ అంతా జనరేట్ చేయండి. Once you are done with the script, then go to the terminal. So default to the syntax of the schema. What is the schema? Then మొత్తం schema కూడా అదే ఇస్తుంది. Whatever you want. What is the type of your schema?
Studio workout.
Okay. Exactly అలానే పని చేస్తుంది. Next, what is the schema?
డిప్లాయ్ కాలేము ఇక్కడ నుంచి.
డిప్లాయ్ అవ్వదు, బట్ ఈ కోడ్ తీసుకొని మనం ఇక్కడ నుంచి. సో ఇక్కడ మీరు సింటాక్స్ కూడా చెక్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. You can run the syntax. Once you compile it, it will give you the syntax errors. Based on that, you can modify the changes, whatever. సో ఇప్పుడు నేను ఏం చేస్తున్నాను, ఆల్రెడీ ఉంది కదా, అది నేను పేస్ట్ చేస్తాను. ikkada undi. This extension requires .NET Core fully functionality. అదే ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసుకుంటాను. ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ .NET ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేసుకుంటాను.
version.
సో మీరు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఇక్కడ నుంచి ట్రై చేయండి. ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ యూజింగ్ ద విజువల్ స్టూడియో అది ఒకసారి ట్రై చేయండి. నెక్స్ట్ టైం నుంచి విజువల్ స్టూడియో కోడే వాడండి. ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ద విజువల్ స్టూడియో జస్ట్ ఫర్గెట్ అబౌట్ ఇట్. మీరు విజువల్ స్టూడియో కోడ్ వాడండి. ఇది ఫ్రీలీ అవైలబుల్. ఇట్ ఈస్ అ కంప్లీట్లీ ఓపెన్ సోర్స్. Using this you can write Java, Python, whatever it may be, just adding the extensions something. ఏదైనా చేయొచ్చు. మీరు SQL queries కూడా రాసుకోవచ్చు. We have the terminal, right? Connect to the terminal. Just connect to the terminal, whether it may be Git, whether it may be command line, whether it may be SQL, only connect. But you must have that extension. Add that. చాలా స్లో అయిపోతుంది. Okay, this is how you can execute all the scripts related to. Now new requirement ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ రైట్ create 3 virtual machines from the template. నాకు ఒకటే టెంప్లెట్ లో 3 VMs కావాలి. అప్పుడు ఏం రాస్తారు? వాట్ ఈస్ ద లాజిక్? That is not recommended. 100 VMs అంటే 100 objects రాస్తావు. How do you do that? Loops. Okay.
Function.
Loop right. Count equal to 3. ఎక్కడ రాస్తారు? ఫర్ లూప్ లోనే మీ VM ఎక్కడైతే విర్చువల్ మెషిన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నావో అక్కడ కౌంట్ ఈక్వల్ టు 3 అంటారు. దట్ ఈస్ ద లూప్. ఫర్ ఈచ్ అవసరం లేదు. మీరు డిఫాల్ట్ గా కౌంట్ ఈక్వల్ టు 3 అంటే విత్ ఇన్ దట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఇట్ విల్ లూప్ అండ్ అగైన్. బట్ ఇక్కడ ఒక ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటి? హౌ డు యూ మేనేజ్ ద నేమ్స్? 3 VMs క్రియేట్ అవుతాయి. హౌ డు యూ మేనేజ్ ద విర్చువల్ మెషిన్ నేమ్స్? అది మీరు థింక్ చేయండి. Another one. Multiple subscriptions. ఒకే టెంప్లెట్ రన్ చేస్తే that VM should be created in 2 subscriptions. ఎలా చేస్తారు?
Subscription name mentioned.
ఇక్కడ వేరియబుల్ లో కాదు, పారామీటర్ లో చేయాలి. సో there are 2 types you can achieve this. Defining the subscription names in a parameters, else there is another concept called, what is this? Nested template. Template in a template. We have 2 templates. One template is for creating the subscription for VM for one subscription. Another template is defining the create virtual machine another subscription. By calling this one template in another template, it is a nested template. Clear? సో ఇవి రెండు ట్రై చేయండి. మొత్తం ఎన్ని సినారియోస్? 1 2 3 8 సినారియోస్.
కాంప్లికేటెడ్ కానీ పారామీటర్ దాంట్లో
ఎలా అయినా రాయండి. పారామీటర్తో కొన్ని కాంప్లికేషన్స్ వస్తాయి, బట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు రిజాల్వ్ ఇట్. బట్ ట్రై ఇట్. ఓకే, క్లియర్? ఇవే ఆర్మ్ టెంప్లెట్స్ కంప్లీట్లీ. ఇవన్నీ మీరు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తే యు ఆర్ ఆల్మోస్ట్ డన్. యూ హ్యావ్ యూజ్డ్ ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. యూ హ్యావ్ యూజ్డ్ లూప్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ యూజ్డ్ nested templates and everything. I have my created own API from ARM template. Let's assume that you have one API. I mean to say API is nothing but website URL. I would like to call that website URL while attaching my database or something. How do you do this? Yes, there is a terminal called URI. Define the URI in this block.
URI or URI?
URI. ఇక్కడికి వచ్చే టైం URI అవుతుంది. So just call it. Very simple. Just URI, that's it. Properties లో template link, that's it, called URI. Just you can call the respective API. So ఇది try చేయండి. సో ఇవన్నీ రియల్ టైమ్ లో వస్తాయి. Okay, clear? Now, clear so far? Everything is right? Now, yesterday మిమ్మల్ని ఒక క్వశ్చన్ అడిగా. What is the difference between PowerShell and ARM template? Procedural and declarative. This is the main difference. PowerShell is the declarative or procedural? Procedural. So procedural ఎట్లా వర్క్ అవుతుంది? First we have to define all the things. Just మీకు procedural లో ఏం చెప్పాలి? Connected to my VM, connected to my Azure. Then create a resource group. Create VNet, create subnet, create VM, deploy the web app. So you have to define like this. Then only it can able to deploy. Because మీరు డైరెక్ట్ డిక్లరేటివ్ ఏం చెప్తారు? Create a VM with respective config. That's it. That is the main difference between PowerShell and ARM template. అంతే కదా. ఇప్పుడు మీ టెంప్లెట్లు ఏం డిఫైన్ చేస్తారు? అన్ని డిఫైన్ చేసి వన్ షాట్ యువర్ పుష్ చేస్తున్నారు. సో వైల్ యువర్ adding your PowerShell, if you don't define that the prerequisite, it cannot be created. That is the declarative procedure. So coming to the declarative, just you can define your template, what are the prerequisites you need to have, just turn it to one shot. That is the main difference. Okay, So as part of as part of come right now. ఇక్కడ very simple JSON example. Virtual machines to CPU core, just to core.
ఓన్లీ JSON Python
Python అన్ని ఇట్లానే ఉంటాయి. With respect to configuration, just go and deploy. That's it. Hope everyone is familiar with ARM templates, right? How to create and how to deploy them. There are total 4 ways to deploy. Okay. A lab practice రాసుకున్నారని. Okay. Okay. Next, as part of infrastructure as a code, IaaC. Infrastructure as a code. Till now we have seen ARM templates, right? Other hand, we have Terraform also. So what is the difference between ARM templates and the Terraform? What is the Terraform has advantages compared with the ARM templates? If you look at the syntax, both are similar, very similar, but
it won't support in AWS. Yeah.
Exactly.
It will support in
all the platforms.
It
is a ARM template is the platform independent. Whereas coming to the Terraform, let's assume that you have some workloads in AWS, you have workloads from VMware, you have some workloads in the Azure with respect to of the same customer. Now you have to manage infrastructure. If you want to deploy the infrastructure using the automation at a single time. Is it possible with ARM template? No. The main difference is ARM template is a platform independent. So whereas coming to the Terraform, it is multi-cloud deployment. It supports all the kind of environments except physical. Except physical, it supports all kind of deployments. Now, physical terror in the infrastructure is the punch.
Physical machines only
virtualization matra. Okay, resources are managed within resource group, right?
I can say platform independent అని చెప్పచ్చు. అంటే ఈ ప్లాట్ఫామ్ Azure ప్లాట్ఫామ్ డిపెండెంట్
ఇది
ప్లాట్ఫామ్ ఇండిపెండెంట్ అన్నిటికీ సపోర్ట్ చేస్తుంది.
That is it supports the multi-cloud.
ఇది Azure మాత్రమే.
Only Azure మాత్రమే. So Terraform will be managed in all managed all with resource group also. With resource group also it can be managed. So these are the two main differences. If anyone asks that why do you prefer Terraform rather than using the ARM template? These are the two main advantages. Now coming to the Terraform, Terraform is created by Ashika. Terraform developed on Go language. Terraform developed on Go language, but you don't need to write the Go language to manage the Terraform. Terraform created by Go language, but you have to write the code using the HCL. That is a script. The scripting language is HCL. Ashika. Ashika configuration language. That is called a HCL.
JSON language.
That's its language. So it is a hot in the market. Terraform is a hot in the market. But once you are familiar with ARM template, it's very easy. Similar than but it's very easy. Okay, so this is the Go language developed by. You have to manage your write the script using the Ashika configuration language. As part of infrastructure as a code, there are n number of tools available in the market. Easy. Those are ARM templates, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Terraform, Salt Stack. Likewise, there are n number of tools available on the market. Now, what makes difference between all these tools? Okay, so this is used for to deploy the Azure resources particularly. This is Chef and Puppet used to manage the configurations post deployment. Post deployment in the sense after deploying your environment, you would like to change any configurations, pushing the files and manage your applications. Just we will use Chef and Puppet. It is also does the same thing, but these two are agent specific. Ansible is without agent. Without agent. Agent is nothing but particularly which is related to the Chef and Puppet, the agent should be available on the particular location and particular server. Based on that, it will push all the files on that. That is the agent. Whereas coming to the Ansible, Ansible is the agentless. Without agent, it can be communicated with your environment by using the SSH and other mechanisms. Okay, so Terraform is used for to deploy configurations as well. So Terraform is used for the deployment and some configurations. But coming to the configuration change management, it not work exactly like Ansible. Some backdrops is there using the Terraform. That could be the reason strictly we do use to deploy your services using the Terraform. Coming to the Salt Lake, is very similar with Chef and Puppet with the agent and configuration change management. All these tools comes under infrastructure as a code. Okay. Now let's go and check what are the Terraform supported platforms. It supports almost every platform. Every Alibaba Cloud, AWS, Azure, Azure, whatever. OpenStack, Azure Stack. Azure Stack is nothing but again private cloud. It supports all C. That is the capability of Terraform. Okay. Now I would like to download the Terraform. It's not like a ARM template. ARM template direct you can use any one of the tool, right? But it's a completely command prompt. You have to manage your Terraform in a completely command prompt. So what you have to do? .io download. What is your operating system? Windows 64. Just download it. Just run. This is the exe file. You no need to run this exe file. Just copy. Okay. Just copy, cut, and paste it to the your C drive. Just I have created Terraform as a template, as a folder. Just I have already delete it and just paste. Now you can manage your Terraform from your command. So just PowerShell run as administrator always. So now where is your folder? I have in Windows and 32, right? Where I am? CD slash C. Sorry. CD C4.
No, sir. CD, C dot, C, colon, colon. Colon, ఇప్పుడు ఇవ్వండి. Slash.
Okay. So dir where I am. So it will list out all the directories. What is our file?
CD,
Terraform. Okay. So now what I have to do? CD T capital. Now it get to the particular Terraform folder. Now into the Terraform folder. If you say dir, it will list out all the files. Now I want what I have to do? Run the exe file. So now it is available. Now it is available. This is the default command. This is the common command. So how do you say that your Terraform is readily available in your environment? I mean your machine by getting this message. This is the default. Okay, this is the default commands. In these commands, you don't use all this. You do use only 4 commands. Among all this, regularly you do use only 4 commands. Now, slash. So So by defaultly where I am, PWD C drive, right? Now earlier once I log into the, in which folder I am, CD slash, what is that? System 32, right? Okay. So now even though how it is possible, I'm not into the particular folder, still I am can able to manage my Terraform from other directories as well. So by it can be possible by managing the environment variables. Just go to environment variables. Okay, go to environment variables. Just you can see the path here, right? Just select the path and edit. There what I have defined, C dot C colon Terraform. అంటే C drive లో Terraform ఎక్కడైనా ఉండాలి. Irrespective of any folder where I am, I can able to manage. So I have defined my environment variable in the C folder as a Terraform. So wherever I can able to run it, I can able to run it from the irrespective of the C folder. You no need to be available particularly in that folder. Clear? Now. So that could be the reason it is allowing me to run the Terraform from anywhere in the C drive. So now I have downloaded the Terraform and Terraform is readily available. Now what's next? You have to write the Terraform script. How does you define the script? How does you have written the script? How does you write the script? So now I have to write my Terraform script. By default, the Terraform will be gathered of your component. What is the component? By defining the component and provider, type and name. You have to follow this syntax. The component is nothing but what is the resource. Component is nothing but a resource. Whether you are creating the type of the resource, whether you want to create a resource and whether you want to create any directories, those kind of a thing you need to define. Then provider. Who is the provider? If you are using the Azure, just provide this Azure RM. If you are using for AWS, instead of Azure RM, you could see that AWS. If it is a Google, you could see instead of Azure RM, you could see the GCP. Okay, that is the provider. Type. What type of resource you are going to create? What type of resource? Whether you are going to create virtual machine, whether you are going to create network, whether you are going to create storage, what kind of a resource? I am creating the resource group, that is the type. Then last element is name. That what is the name of your resource group which you would like to. Okay, that is the default syntax. What is that? Component, provider, type, resource type. Type is nothing but a resource type. Then you have to give the name of the particular service. Clear? So now by default it will start from like this. By default the script can start from provider. Who is the provider? So once you get that provider, the Terraform will understand that you are going to deploy the services whether in ARM, Azure Resource Manager or AWS or Google or VMware. Getting it or not? Okay. So first you have to define the first line is provider. Here you don't need to define the objects. Why? Because Terraform is not an object based. Terraform is not an object based. So directly you can write that provider equal to whatever, AWS or Azure or GCP, whatever. Then open the parenthesis. Then, so that is fine. Anta baane undi, it is Azure. Then how do you make sure to communicate this template with the Azure? For that, you have to write this 4 things. What is your subscription ID? What is your subscription ID? What is your client ID? Okay. What is your tenant ID? These are all the unique things. You have to pass this. You have to pass all this value in a template. Okay. The Terraform extension is, what is the Terraform extension? TF. Terraform extension is TF. If you want to save this Terraform file as .tf. Okay. Tomorrow we will see that all these things. How do you get this all this
Terraform code cards.
with Terraform?
Code same JSON language.
It's very similar.
JSON
It's a Terraform only. So, but ఏంటంటే కొంచెం సింటాక్స్ తేడా వస్తుంది అంతే. ఇప్పుడు మన టెర్రాఫార్మ్ ఎలా స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది? బై ఓపెనింగ్ ద parenthesis to start from the schema. ఇక్కడ parenthesis అదేం ఉండదు. Why? Because you are not defining any objects here. Directly start from the provider.
అంటే హ్యాష్ ట్యాగ్ ఉండదు, వర్క్ అవ్వదు, జస్ట్ లైక్ ఏ కమెంట్.
ఇక్కడ హ్యాష్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఏ కామెంట్. అక్కడ స్టార్ కాదు,
కమెంట్
ఎక్కడ
పవర్
JSON లో హ్యాష్ కూడా అది కూడా. సో పవర్ షెల్ లో ఐఫోన్. సో హ్యాష్ ఇస్ ఫర్ ద కామెంట్. ఓకే. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, వాట్ ఇస్ ద సింటాక్స్? ఎలిమెంట్, కాంపోనెంట్, ప్రొవైడర్, resource type and name, right? So now I would like to create a resource group. What is the type of? I would like to create a resource with this provider. Azure RM is the provider. I would like to create the type of the resource is resource group. My name of the resource group is. This is how you can create the resources. So tomorrow we will deep dive into that. So how to get this, all the subscription ID, client ID and all this, then how do you pass it, and how do you define the template for the variables, how to define. Here we don't have parameters, the variables pass chestam. Variables can be treated as a parameters and associated with the template. Clear so far? Okay. So see you tomorrow by writing the Terraform scripts. So basically we do call it as a not a script, modules. We do call it as a modules. Entire VNet is the module, VM is the module, storage is the module. Okay. So Kubernetes is the module. Atla modules like define chestam. Under the modules we can write the Terraform templates. Okay. Okay, we will see in the next class tomorrow. సో ఇవి ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి, హోంవర్క్.
చాట్ లో ఒక మెసేజ్ పెట్టారు, అది ఏం సార్ సింపుల్ గా ఫైన్ అన్నారు.
అది సో అడిగాను కదా డిఫరెన్సెస్,
కానీ ఏదో సంథింగ్
అవే ఇప్పుడు మనం చెప్పినవే అతను ఎలాబొరేట్ చేసి చెప్పారు. ఓకే. See you.